So the last time I was here, which was last weekend, I stayed for 2 nights. The first night I had Hannah, and the second night I did not. Steve had taken her home because it was so hot that we both felt it was just better for her to go home. So as I finished the joists, the deck joists, I was heading back down to the cabin, and about 5 minutes into my walk, I could hear quite a bit of crunching branches up kind of from where I just came from. So I stopped to listen to see if I was just hearing something or if it was in fact these loud noises. And so I heard it again. So the first thing that came to my mind, of course, is a bear. Naturally, the one time I don't have a dog with me, and I did buy bear spray, but it was up in my truck at the top of the trail, so that wasn't any help. So it was fine. I walked back down and I just tried to think of how I was going to deal with the situation in the morning on my way back up. So I rummaged around through the cabin and through the storage shed, and I came up with a plan. A helmet. You always hear, I don't know, you don't always hear, but I've heard of people talking about bears and getting your skull crushed, so I saw that helmet and I thought that would be a good idea. I made 2 spears. I made a short one and a long one. And I grabbed a can of Raid. And this is what I was gonna do. I was gonna encounter the bear on the trail and of course introduce myself. And then I would drop the pack, grab my helmet, put the helmet on as quickly as I could, reach for my can of Raid in my pack, and grab the long spear and proceed to jab the long spear into the bear's chest, aiming for the heart, of course. And then I would step to the side and take the smaller spear and start stabbing him that way in hopes to create more blood loss. And then I would grab the can of Raid and spray his eyes. Now, I don't ever want to have to kill a bear. This was just in theory, of course. Yeah, that's what I would have done. So let's talk about the charring of the wood. I charred the deck joists, and I did char slightly the cabin joists as well. So the deck joists are cedar, and I charred them for the obvious reason of weatherproofing as just an extra step. I charred the floor joists primarily because we have pack rats out here. There are lots of pack rats and they chew wood. They chew on our stairs, which is pressure treated wood, and there are some areas where they have chewed significantly. So it's for the rats. Now my plan as well was to bring the Tiger torch with the propane out and torch the entire frame of this cabin. But being that it's now July, super hot, and forest fire season, that's not a good idea. So I went with plan B, which was to buy some wood preservative, which is just a copper wood preservative, and I went around and applied a coat of that to all of the areas that I thought would need it, out on the deck as well. So there was some people worried about the fact that I used just deck screws for the joists, the joist installation. I didn't really think that that was a problem. I have 8 to 12 screws per end. But whenever I'm in doubt, I always ask Steve. I always ask his opinion. In this case, he agreed that I should have used different screws. So I did do that. I put 2 screws on each end, some long, like 3.5 inch all-purpose like structural screws or whatever. So I did do that, even though I think it still would have been okay, but just to be safe. And then I just laid the deck boards on. Some of them were very warped. Like very warped. I came to a point where one was so bad, there was no way I could physically maneuver it. So I went and hiked back up to the top and got a ratchet strap. Yeah, and also being that I'm moving forward with the cabin framing in a different way, I wanted to also add just some things in the corner, just a little bit of extra wood. Now Steve did tell me that that's unnecessary to do that I don't need to do that, but I suppose you could just say I just did it for my mental health. It made me feel better to do it, so I just did it anyway with just a little bit of leftover pressure treated wood. So I'm in a bit of a predicament here. This is fairly early. It is like 7:30 right now. I came up here. I've been up pretty much most of the night, unfortunately, with Hannah. She is not well. I don't know what's going on with her, but she is not well the last 3 days, and it's just significantly getting worse, throwing up anything she eats. And I need to go. So there's no cell service here, and I have a feeling I need to take her to the vet. I did get Hannah to the vet that evening, and given her symptoms and her age, cancer is suspected. I managed her at home on IV fluids, anti-nausea medications, and stomach coating medications, and after a couple of days, she's pulled through whatever was going on for now. Between Hannah and then Clyde, who I had at the vet the week before for an infection in his gums, and needing to take Steve to the ER for battery acid in his eye and a subsequent corneal abrasion, I've been working my home nursing skills a lot these days. So this rock wall is part of the rail grade, which was built in the early 1900s. So there are several of these along this rail grade. This one just so happens to be that our property comes up to it. So, but it is not ours. But if you can see, and I'll try and zoom in there, we found this engraved in there, and it says its initials. It says AC Scotland 1906, and I think it's TJ 1906, which is really kind of cool. all-purpose screws, not deck screws. And I'm an idiot, and I left these out in the sun. They're fairly warped. Threw the plywood up here and marked out where I need to, I just marked little lines here because I'm going to put support, like, I don't know what they're called, just extra pieces of 2x8 in between the joists, just for structural support.
In a couple of days, I'm going to post an addendum to this video, a debriefing if you will. I would like to fill you in a bit more, explaining some things, and going over the next phase of this build. It's not crucial, so for those of you that aren't interested in a sit and chat video, you don't have to watch it. For those of you that are interested, I'll see you in a couple of days. I might even make a banana bread for us and dress up a bit.